Home stretch of 2023. These are the things that you need to focus on for the last 60 days. What's up? All right, so we have about 60 days left in 2023, all right? There's a few things that we need to take on as critical criteria and really hone in and focus on those things if you want to, stack up a couple of additional wins and more importantly, set yourself up for next year, right? 2024 is going to be big when it comes to real estate, and I'm going to break that down here in a sec, right? So first thing that is happening right now, and these are, some of the most important things, again, that we're looking at right now in terms of the activity and what's going out there with sellers and seller conversations, right? Number one is gonna be your seller conversation, your offer amounts. A lot of times we hold back on dropping, those low anchor numbers because we feel like they're too low, the sellers are gonna say no. Right now, we're in a very, very particular moment where sellers have gotten the memo of what's going on, right? Interest rates are in the mid 8%, which is, unreal. We haven't heard that in a long, long time. That's what's going on. They know that that's what's going on. Sellers understand that days on market are getting extended. Properties are becoming more and more difficult to sell. So what happens? What does that translate to? Easier or more open, I don't want to say easier, but let's say more open seller conversations. Do not be afraid of dropping those low anchor numbers that you need to drop in order to have better spreads and actually have sellable deals. It's not that you're going to create these big, massive spreads on every single one of the deals, but you need to go deeper in order for the deals to sell. I mean, it's supply and demand, right? Rising inventory needs more aggressive pricing when it comes to the dispo side. So think about it this way. Anytime the market shifts or anytime we have a change in the market, it's either going to create challenges for the sales side and acquisition side or the disposition side, right? One of the two. If we have high inventory, it's going to be easier on the acquisition side, right? Now, market moves, and then we have low inventory, it's going to be easier on the disposition side. So the pendulum is kind of swinging from one lane to the next, right? Right now, we're at a space where conversations are easier on the seller side. However, the properties are a bit harder to sell unless you have something that's undeniably a good deal. So focus on that, right? The next thing, if you're doing virtual marketing, this is a lesson that I learned this year. You have to segment your offers into primary and secondary markets. What I mean by that, right? Primary markets for me, I consider a primary market anything that has over 300,000 people in population, metro areas, right? It doesn't have to be one single city, it can be a metro area. Why? Because you have activity, you have housing, you have jobs, you have buyers that are interested in flipping. Why? Because the population count is higher. That's gonna be a primary market. Our numbers, we'll offer up to 75% minus repairs, minus fees on that type of market. However, smaller markets that are further away from those metro areas and have less than 300,000 people in population, you can go 250 on those depending on if it's a touristy site or not. But those markets usually become a lot more challenging to dispo properties in, right? So we have to go even more aggressive when it comes to the low anchor. So instead of starting or having MAOs at the 75%, the maximum allowable offer, at 75% and going through that whole equation, we'll go deeper into a 63%, 65% minus repairs, minus expenses, right? So we have to go in a lot deeper in order to sell and be able to actually push those properties. We did a lot of marketing. I spent a lot of money in advertising and tapping into these markets and skip tracing and PPC and all kinds of stuff. We got a bunch of deals in, and the numbers looked right. They looked, prime for dispo. However, when we got to dispo and actually getting, to move those deals onto cash buyers, they were not buying. Like, what happened? We just realized that they need to buy a lot deeper in those particular areas, which now we call them secondary markets, right? So if you're doing virtual markets, segment primary and secondary, your approach has to be different. Now, what about the lending side of things? Okay, this morning I got an update. It looks like over the next few months they want to work on interest rates and actually get them down to like the mid 4s, right? That'd be really good for for consumers, right? Because they are going to be, affordability is going to be back into the picture again. So if that happens, think about the ripple effect that's going to have, right? Right now, affordability is through the roof. People are open to selling. Over the next few years, that may switch the pendulum over to the easier to sell properties, but harder to lock properties, all right? So now we're in kind of like that mix, that fogginess of like what's going on. Is the market going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Who knows if it's gonna happen? I mean, we always get weird updates on stuff, and then stuff doesn't come through on percentages and whatnot, right? But what we can actually bank on is the temperature of the current market, okay? How is the market moving right now where you're at? And just kind of, pace that forward. If the interest rates were to drop, what is that gonna do for the space that you're in, right? So inventory would probably stabilize, property values would go up. Why? Because of supply and demand again. If that comes to fruition, we may see some type of adjustment. Even a temporary one would be good at this point. Keep that in mind. That's something that may be coming up over the next quarter or two. So if inventory stabilizes, prices may go up, and then the challenge again may go from acquisitions to dispositions, right? So it's always a dance between the two. That's one of the biggest things that I want to kind of highlight in this video. And of course, the last one here is going to be lead generation. Lead generation is not the same as it used to be 3 months ago, 6 months ago, okay? We've always done, cold calling and text messaging, gone through compliance and DNC and all that stuff, right? Now, here's the kicker. I did an analysis, a deep analysis of where are we at right now in cold calling and SMS, and where were we 6 months ago. The efficiency of it dropped by 32%, all right? 32%, it's a crazy number, 32%. So that means that my campaigns suck 32% more than they did 6 months ago, all right, in terms of lead generation. So that's insane. If it's the only lead generation avenue that we have going on, just understand that it's not gonna be the same. There's more compliance, more red flags, coming up on everything, right? When it comes to cold calling, when it comes to text messaging, it's just getting tighter and tighter. Carriers are getting, a lot sharper about, being able to block the calls and all that stuff. So there's a lot of movement going on when it comes to compliance and actually, stopping that aspect of lead generation. So what do we have to do? We have to do both outbound lead generation, which is what I just mentioned, and then mix it in with inbound lead generation. Inbound being pay-per-click ads. Anything that gets somebody to give you a call as opposed to you going out there and reaching out to people. So being proactive when it comes to lead generation has always been a great thing. Right now, though, we have to have a mix of both, because if you don't, again, your efficiency in your marketing campaigns is dropping. I mean, it's dropping by, week by week by week. It's crazy, 32% less efficient. And it's same staff, same quality on the skip tracing. So the variables are the same, yet the efficiency is less. Why? Because we're getting blocked a lot more than we were getting blocked before. And we're still staying on top of the quality of the phone numbers, the quality of the conversations, and that sort of thing, okay? So here's some numbers on our lead generation campaigns, all right? SMS right now, cost per prospect is at $21.34 per prospect on SMS. Cost per prospect on our cold calling campaigns is at $54.46. All right, cold calling. Every prospect is $54.46. Our PPC campaigns are giving us a prospect for $158, right? So it's a lot more expensive when you're looking at inbound leads, but the quality of leads tends to be a lot higher, all right? PPC is one of those tricky things that, you have to, dial it in. There's a lot of variables that go into PPC campaigns for them to be effective. A lot of times, if you don't set it up right, you're gonna be, kind of shotgunning the entire area as opposed to being more lasered into the areas that you actually want to market into. There's a very big technical aspect that goes into setting up your PPC campaigns. So if you have a third party that you can go to set that up for you, I highly recommend that. There's also pay-per-leads companies out there, right? And usually those run between $250 to $450 a lead or a prospect, depending on where you're at. The better the area, the more populated the area, the more demand, the higher the cost of that lead's gonna be, right? But now it's more important than ever to actually do a combination of both inbound and outbound lead generation. Why? Because of efficiencies in the outbound, in the outreach of those leads, right? Keep that in mind, and don't sleep on the traditional stuff, right? If you're getting started and you don't have the budget to launch a PPC campaign, right? Or you're not seeing a lot of traction on the cold calling side of things or the SMS, and you're spending money, don't sleep on the stuff that's always been tried and tested and it's always worked, right? Like door knocking, actually having conversations, tapping into your sphere of influence for leads, right? Referral business is big too as well. So those are some of the things that we're focusing on over the last 60 days of 2023. Now, keep in mind, right, that anything that you lock up in November is gonna close in December. So technically, your year is gonna end at the very latest around December 12th, December 15th. Why? Because if you lock up something on December 15th, it's going to be pretty hard to close it before the end of the year. So it's the last 60 days of the year. However, we have about 30 to 45 viable business days in 2023. All right, that's all that's remaining. Keep that in mind and hustle. Get out there. Like right now, it's one of those strange opportunities that can actually get you set up for next year, given the temperature and the route that everything is taking right now. All right, stay focused. You got this.